Siadwracheg o'r iagadau can meds basmwtiwnerov. Meds rapwtiwna iagau mes hamar o'r iagadeg. Jef siadwracheg dwybys for aritwna tatek, na elw, jef ympollnalw. Hara'r ymysegiani ar festel for himawrym yn tynfadau me'r bader rwfra, gachfadau me'r baderen, jef bynagarapar am poch dwna gycharetsgatsne. Himawrym inch can hasgata ar hasarag, ais bichotarwma bet gygadar fi ampleren, a don yma fy'n poch fem ador. I'm very pleased that you're all here. We very much appreciate your coming for this event. It's very exciting for us that we have the opportunity then to enter into this discussion with Ramela Abbamontian, to continue a conversation with him that began several years back.
Many years ago.
And continue on into the future. So fundamentally to explore with him something of the depth of the works portrayed and something of the man, obviously, that created them and gave them life. At the same time, I'm delighted that on my other side we have Dr. Ramela Abbamontian. So she is a graduate in art history from UCLA. Her PhD was devoted to contemporary Armenian artists in the diaspora, particularly in the USA. And so she is on the art history faculty at Pierce College, where the range of her classes is quite remarkable. With great smoothness, she moves from the classical to the modern, the African, the South American, and we're looking forward to the event, hopefully in the near future, where she will have the opportunity to direct her attention also to Armenian art and to establish an Armenian art program there at Pierce College. Just very quickly, let me sketch for you the background of Ryan. We're going to be hearing a great deal from him with regard to his particular perspective on life, on his background, on his journey as an artist, on the significance of art itself. But just very briefly, let me sketch something of the main elements in his biography. So one of the first things I think is important to highlight is that he's a graduate of the Nishan Palanjan Gemaran. So one of the most important elite schools in the Armenian diaspora. This is an excellent beginning to his background in education. And he received then his introductory artistic training at the Academy Libanaise des Beaux-Arts. During the Lebanese War, I should say, I'm sure we're going to hear more about that as time goes on. He moved to San Francisco in 1984 and received his bachelor's and MA in Fine Arts from the San Francisco Art Institute. And I think that we can all agree that it had a very deep impact on his perspective as an artist, as to what art is all about. So including not only the aesthetic, but also the social, the political, etc. There, he became a founding member of the San Francisco Armenian Film Society and continues on until today. He moved to LA in 2005 with Maral, his wife, and Patil, his daughter. We're very pleased that they're able to be with us also. And so he has continued his explorations in our midst here. He's had a whole series of exhibitions over the years of different kinds, and publications, interviews, multidisciplinary installations, collaborations with a whole range of different sorts of people and different backgrounds. the intellectual and poet Vahe Oshagan, as noted in his filmography. Also a whole range of critics like Mark Michalyan, David Kazanjan. We're delighted that Talar Shahinyan is also in our midst today. The late lamented Neri Melkonyan, and of course the list goes on and on. So I think that this is perhaps a good opportunity for me to pass over then, so donner la parole, to give the opportunity then for you to make your initial statement.
Well, thank you, Peter. I really appreciate you and Anna and Rita for putting this together. And I'm glad I finally got to meet and work with Ramela. I'm always thankful for your, we've been having this conversation for 20 years. You welcomed me when we first came over here. We've had many conversations together around art and and the Armenian and whatever the Armenian studies. And I always appreciated his support. And and I'm going to start believing what you're telling me about myself.
That should have happened several years ago.
No, it's all in good time. Yeah. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Anai. Thank you.
So what were you?
Thank you so much. We're very excited to gather together for an informal and also formal conversation with our wonderful artist Harai. What we wanted to do is create a PowerPoint and dialogue and also welcome your questions, your comments, and your thoughts about what work you'll be seeing today. And what we're trying to help you walk into is the journey of the artist who has left a war in Lebanon and has had that imprinted on his mind and his heart. And he tries to process that and to make sense of that experience and tries to convey that without, as he says, representing it directly. And we've put together the PowerPoint and we'll see the progression of ideas and medium that he uses. So we'd like to invite you to comment when you have something to say about it, and then I have just questions that Harai can also, obviously respond to, but also help us walk through that experience. These are Harai's Beirut photographs, and I believe the first time they've been displayed is here in Professor Managit Kawi's home. And we just want to have Harai tell us a little bit about that experience of living in Beirut at this time. And then we'll invite the audience to share some thoughts about the photographs that you see. And we've tried to put a lot on there. I'm sorry if it's a little blurry in the back, but you're welcome to stand up or get closer.
This is pretty much, these are later years, probably a year before we left Lebanon. And we hardly took any pictures of the destruction. I don't have, when I go back into my negatives, I don't have too many pictures. We never took many pictures of Lebanon. But the first one on the top left, if you look at it closely, and you can see all the walls are shrapnel, and then the building on the top left side is completely fallen down. And I can't remember we can't remember when it happened. Usually we stop remembering which round, they used to call them round, the destruction, the bombing happened, but it happened constantly. And then right around the corner is where we lived. That second one on the right is right across our living room. That was in '78. Our neighbor got killed in that bombing. Those are all courtesy of the Syrian army, by the way. The bottom left, there are army engineers trying to dislodge a howitzer round. People are gathered around them, and they don't get it's a Sunday thing to do, right? Yeah, it had become normal, unfortunately, and you start realizing eventually that after we left, we start realizing, oh no, that's not normal. And then the right one is at the beach. It's King Barges. That's where we used to go. So if you look closely, I'm taking the picture, but moral is there, and our friends are there. So both, we did all of that stuff during we tried to go through life.
So we want to open it up to the audience. When you look at the photographs, and there's 4 on the screen, what are some things that stand out, or where is your eye drawn to? What are some thoughts that are coming up as you're looking at these photographs?
Distraction
Distraction.
and the normal life, trying to have a normal life, which we went through.
So like living in that moment of
Yes.
facing the destruction and the chaos and the reality of that, as well as the beach and
Yes.
people. And what strikes me in the lower left is there's also children just watching this happen. So for the young minds, this is normal. This is what they've known. And Harad points out that when you come here, you realize, oh, that was not normal. But you've lived with it for so long that it really becomes embedded into your experience. And so when you come here, how do you make sense of this kind of trauma? And I know we can on many levels relate to different kinds of trauma, maybe on a personal level as well as on a collective level. But these are some photographs. They are in the hallway. When we're done with the talk, you're welcome to really come up close and personal. And we invite you to kind of question your position in relation to the photographs. Where are you as are you kind of a distant observer? Are you right there watching it? I mean, the fact that this is right across the street from your home, so we're getting a glimpse through Harar's eyes of what he saw on a daily basis walking out of his home. But very gripping, powerful photographs. And thank you for letting us display them for the first
Well,
time.
thank you.
That's a difficult.
I never wanted to have to start from this place, but I think eventually this finding its place in my back. This is San Bruno. This is where, when we first moved to the States, I got forsaken place. I don't know why people live there, especially on Mastic Avenue. And so I borrowed the 4x5 view camera from the school, and we could check them out. So Paul should know. So and then I went around trying to find something to take a picture. When you have a camera like that, you have to make use of it. You just can't take it back. So I started looking at the ground instead of looking at the streets. As you noticed, hardly there are people in there.
There are no people in
There's
these
no
photographs.
people in my.
They're more dry, more concrete, more harsh maybe, but you can still see some search of life, almost like looking
Yeah.
to find meaning, searching for life, searching for home, trying to understand what happened, but still using the lens of the camera to make sense of that, because the comparison with what he saw here and the amount of people, and then this is pretty much void of that. So it's either he's looking at the ground, and since in the middle photograph, his view is elevated. It's like he's skipping over the level of the people. And so it's trying to kind of make sense of the space that he's existing in. This one is called Intruder, and I love that. We're going to have you explain a little bit.
This is my probably second painting. I studied film. I was in the film department, but I was also on. I worked on campus a lot, so I had lots of time. So I said, why don't I take a painting class? So the first thing I did was to paint the background, and then I painted the front, the picture with varnish. So the layer, but then I showed, and then I said that's not enough, and I put the sensor, motion sensor security light on top of the thing, and I put the painting in a dark space. So as soon as people walk in, the motion sensor says when the art starts and how much you're willing to move in it. But also you're an intruder. You are, when you move to a new place that doesn't technically belongs to you, you are an intruder into that space. So that's what I was trying to convey, and then once the lights do not light up the painting, it light the viewer, and the viewer gets in turn reflected in the picture. So the picture takes you in instead of you taking in the picture.
That's one of the things I always bring up in my classes is where is the viewer, just like I asked for the earlier photographs. And I think here, Harab turning the lights on the viewer and the viewer activating the image, right? The viewer's presence brings the image to life and to light. And then the word intruder, anybody else felt like an intruder in any areas of their lives or have stories of intrusion and
Not belonging.
not belonging, finding meaning?
This is something that we feel very much here. So we used to be in Sherman Oaks, and here, Woodland Hills, we really are very much in the center of nature. And we notice that on a daily basis. It's very interesting that in Sherman Oaks, if you would go out of the house and walk around or so, the birds would not fly away. Here, that doesn't happen. So they're busy with their activities and so on, and there's this big galumphing figure that's passing. Well, but presumably they know what they're going to do, but that shouldn't disturb us. We're continuing with our activities, and we see that with all the other animal life around, including, I'm not sure if we can see it probably now, but if you look through the window there, immediately opposite, there's a very large high tree, and frequently there's a group of red-tailed hawks that are either then are splaying themselves on that, or they're using the air currents to sort of do all these pirouettes in the sky. So the natural environment continues with its life, and we really are intruders in it on a daily basis, and you really feel that. And so it's wonderful that they share it with us here, and they haven't disappeared because we've sort of invaded. So not only being an intruder, but also an invader. Yeah.
Also suspicious people, like, maybe if you're from the Middle East, you're suspicious.
But as you're trying to find a place to belong in a search for home, and then the feeling of feeling like an intruder, trying to find that place.
Even though the San Francisco itself and the Art Institute itself was very welcoming, but still, there's the feeling is still there. Like you don't belong here, kind of.
I have a question about that spot, the glow. Is it part of the painting or a
No, it's not. It's a
reflection?
reflection because you cannot really take a picture of the painting without the reflection.
Okay, it just
It is.
The varnish is a transparent
It's
cover,
varnish,
so-
and it's just background, and the varnish is on top. So there's really nothing magic happening except for if I take a picture with polarizing filter, it doesn't convey what it is.
I have a question. I was just going to ask what's on the top.
That's the motion sensor.
Well, that's the sensor.
This is a composite. When I did the installation, it was part of it, it's not. It's in private collection, so.
I have a question. The title Intruder, did that start you the painting this, or the title came later? What was it in your mind when you started the painting?
I thought I was just intervening in some kind of art practice, because I didn't come from the painting discipline. I don't have the painter's sensitivity. I just tried to do something different with whatever is usually done normally with varnish, for example. Varnish is the final cover of the thing. So
So I can see you finished it, but you didn't call it Intruder until you put the lights on?
No, this was part of my MFA program show, that the graduate thesis show, and that's what I used then.
So we're seeing what Harad is doing with the layering that's coming up, the use of varnish, the reference to the background, this whole idea of I have something to say, and we'll see this explored even more deeply in the works to come. And this one has a pretty interesting story that Harad will share.
This is not my work, but I participated in this because I was doing the Where is Home stuff. I had a Gigi Jianshang, she's Taiwanese. She was in the MFA program too. and she wanted me to be part of this installation. And it was more about immigrants who are coming here, running from their home. And in my case, we didn't have a home as diaspora Armenians. So we didn't know where home was. In Lebanon, and we don't have enough time to go into Lebanese politics and Armenian situation in Lebanon, but it wasn't the best, and it wasn't the stereotypical. The fault lines were not the stereotypical fault lines that people usually know: Muslim, Christian. It wasn't like that. A lot more complicated than that, and we weren't welcome in Lebanon. We couldn't speak, if we spoke, in our neighborhood, if we spoke Armenian, we could get in trouble. Because people would think, oh, you're talking about us, you're making fun of us, this, you're doing that, do you speak Arabic?
What area?
Ja'tawi.
Sure.
Burchamud is different. Burchamud is easy. It is easy, I'm not kidding.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did you have a culture shock when you came here? That
Yes, that there was no culture, that was the culture.
and that played a big role in.
I mean, it did, and especially San Bruno. You can't find any culture in San Bruno. There's nothing there, And we didn't have. We had to start from scratch. We had really nothing when we came here, and but again, later on I started appreciating more and more what was out there. It took us a few years, but no, it wasn't a shock. We used to watch Dallas, for example.
That's the way to do it.
Good culture.
And MASH.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I just wanted to make it clear in the photograph in the top left, it says, "I've been searching for home."
Yeah.
So I know on the back it might be hard to tell. And then on his t-shirt it says, "Accompanying." So I have something to say.
And this is on Market Street. The bus stops on the Market Street. There are 4 or 5 of them there.
So maybe you'd like to comment on the interrelation between those two. I've been searching for a home and I have something to say. So how do they fit together?
I guess I just had a question. I didn't have anything to say. But no, but they had to listen to me. I mean, basically it's an invitation for somebody, for agency, and to find somebody to listen. And even though, as I said, both San Francisco and the Art Institute were very welcoming, I couldn't speak about these things until my graduate, my MFA midterm project, and from then on I started kicking up. It's not, and that project is not part of the slideshow. It's not possible to record that. It's very difficult. It doesn't make sense in two dimensions. So yeah, that was it. And Market Street, everybody is searching for home.
So I'm searching for home on multiple levels.
Multiple levels, yeah.
And I think you have something to say, so you're exploring that even through the art.
Yeah.
And then you'll notice even with all the art on display, the different media that's used, the kind of art that's displayed, and then even we'll talk about language, filmmaking, music, all of the various tools that I had to explore and try to figure out what is it that I have to say, and how do I say that. Okay, this is your Vahe Oshaga.
Yeah, this kind of landed on my lap. I got a call from Ara Oshagan and Vahe Berberian called me. They said if I'd be interested to do a documentary about Vahe on the occasion of his jubilee. It has a long sordid history. The production, the last version that I have now is I reworked that in 2006, but the first one was in 1994. It's set on, in storage for a time, and then eventually we decided to Tallinn to do the subtitles, and then I've been traveling. I was traveling with it before COVID. I've been all over the place, and it's online. You can watch it. But that was kind of the moment for me to return to Armenian as the Armenian as a medium. I'm not going to as a medium, not to not Haigaganutian. I wasn't returning to Armenianness. I was returning, and language for me is very important. My first encounters with creativity was in writing Armenian, so it was important. And Vahe is, everybody at the time, when all artists had this thing in their mind, what would Vahe say about their work? So it was a challenge for me, and I think, and he really appreciated it. I think I challenged him. Those who have seen the film can say that it's not like a straightforward documentary. You cannot know much about him, but it's kind of his work and where he's coming from, and where I'm intervening. I have my intervention in the film, which is a no-no for a filmmaker. They should stay documentary, and they should stay out of the.
And can you explain to us the process of creating this one? Because this
Yeah.
is another level of the layering.
Yeah, this
Search
was supposed to be a gift to Vahe, commissioned by the San Francisco Hamaskai, and again, for the Jubilee commemoration they were going to have. And they called me and they said, would you be interested? I said, of course. And Vahe was in Australia at the time, so I called him. I said, I want you to send me a poem, an unpublished work, and I'm going to publish it my own way. So he sent me this Mishnarar. And actually, the title of the film is Mishnarar, by Mishnarar, and I picked it up from this work. So at the time, I Xeroxed it, five layers of it on acetate, and I lined them up back to back. And I made it really physically difficult to read, because everybody says why it's difficult to read. So this is and then and then we can go to the next slide maybe. So the last layer is phosphorescent paper. And then at night, when I gave it to him, I told him, I want you to hang this next to the next light, the last light you're going to turn off at night before you go to bed. Needless to say, Hamaskain wasn't very happy with this. And they gave him a fountain pen, I think.
Instead of this.
Maybe maybe Mont Blanc would be Mont Blanc. Because you can write better poetry with expensive pens. So I gave it to him. He was really happy, and he also we sat and watched the documentary together, and he was really and we became very good friends. We kept on emailing each other up until his passing, and when he passed, before he passed, he said, I have 3 grandchildren. I wrote poems for them. Can you do the same thing? I said, of course. But meantime, he passed away, and then I did it anyway and sent it to him. But yeah, we became very good friends, and email talk. This is a film that I did. This is based on just one poem, about 20 minutes long, by Ohanes Talibian. So Vahe wrote the poem, Dedigan. Ohanes Talibian, the composer, put it to music, contemporary electronic music. He was a pioneer in electronic music, and it's not synthesizers, but like computer generated stuff. And then he did that maybe 4 or 5 years later, and I made the film another 5 years. So I tell people this is a parallel collaboration. It's not like one was not done for the other one. And my title is Translated Terigian, and sitting in San Francisco thinking about translating Armenian poetry to English, I thought, can't do that. I didn't know translation was problematized later on. Maybe it did at the time too, but and I didn't have any subtitles, so that it was really difficult to sell it to the American audience.
And then this one also has a very
This was Originally in 94, 90, so this was originally, I filmed this in 86. We had hardly been in the country for, the ones in the monitor, the pictures in the monitors, that's Avril bookstores, and the old one. So I put the surveillance type camera at the community center where they were having a show of Vahe and Arshak. So I just wanted to kind of go very hard document of it. I didn't want to intervene. I just wanted to do a surveillance thing. And you know, surveillance art was kind of its beginnings at the time. You know, video surveillance and government surveilling, and so I didn't know where to show it until 2016 when I was going to have a show at you know, with Talar and Mirna together. We planned a show there at Avril. And I said I told Arno, can I put can I use those monitors? And he said, sure. So we did that, and we pumped the music in the sound in the gallery, but we kept nobody realized it was part of it somewhere else. Everybody took it for granted that, you know, like that's the store surveillance thing. So it found its place. I don't know where to put it next. I don't see where else I can show it. Like that.
Do we have any questions right up until this point before we transition to the next series of artwork?
Let's see about his other talents. I mean, this is amazing. You started with writing, filmmaking, photography, painting.
Still wait.
I don't want to put an end to it. I mean, we'd like to see more.
I also make cabinets.
Nice.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, so on deep background, let me read this one and then explain. The source cannot be coded or identified in any manner, not even as an unnamed source. This is in journalism. The information is usually couched in such phrases as, it is understood that, or it has been learned. The information may be used to help present the story or to gain a better understanding of the subject, but the knowledge is that of the reporter, not the source. No information provided may be used in the story. The information is only for the reporter's background knowledge. And then artist statement. What becomes of the story when the authority, confiding only on the basis of deep background, and its reporter are one and the same, and in a search for meaning are conspiring to cover up the official narrative? And in a conversation, Harai said one other thing I want to also include. He said, I am the source and the journalist. How can you think about the issue without making yourself the center of it? It's not what happened that's the issue, but instead what it did to us.
This is Battery East, San Presidio. But when the first week we came to the States, a relative of ours took us to sightseeing. And everybody was looking at the Golden Gate Bridge, you know, like we've heard about it. And I was really attracted to this stuff. I said, you know, you can sleep in there overnight and not worry about getting killed, you know, by shelling or something. That for us it was a major thing, you know, how many walls. You know, we knew where the rounds were coming from, so we kind of calculated the walls that are between us and the rounds. So this, I said, oh, this would be perfect, you know, like you can sleep. And then back in 2000 and 2001, I went back and started taking pictures. These are dotted all over, both sides of the bridge. These are the huge guns that they had at the time. So that's the scenery, the beautiful scenery that you see from that area. Is actually the source of danger. So those are trained on the intruders from the Pacific. And so I went over and I started taking pictures, and then you will see So these are the ones that are downstairs. Again, these are 5 layers. Each one of them is a different photograph. It's not the same photographs that I printed, so they're taken a second apart. And then the last one is first and then goes back to the first one. And with the lights, so
And they are displayed down.
yeah,
But
that's the location. And this is now the one you see hanging top of the stairs. So that's how I made this. Those are the covers that you saw in the beginning. The guns are not there anymore. So it's covers, and I took canvas and gasoline canister, and the ranger was not very happy when he saw that. He thought I was pouring gasoline, and it wasn't. It was just water, and I lifted a print from that place. So that's the real life. That's
that's the one that you saw. Very powerful. Now the installation of this is also.
yeah. This is
very
at
interesting.
Abrid Books. Yeah, I next probably the next slide will show better. So I had a monitor there that since it wasn't a military base, there were these signs all over that warning you cannot take pictures. So I took pictures, and I used them to light. I used that light of the monitor to light the artwork. Jackson Arms. This was on the 101. I used to drive this place twice a day maybe at one point because this is between San Bruno and San Francisco, and this is a shooting range. So I eventually ventured in, and I looked and I said, I had another project in mind. One of them is at the entrance. I had completely different project in mind, do something smart. So I went in and I was looking at the office had a Lebanese flag on the wall with all kind of signatures on there, autographs. And I found the owner. I said, "What's the story with that?" He said that he was in Lebanon. He served. He was a captain of the Marines in Lebanon, stationed there in '82 when the barracks blew up, and he helped rescue them. And that flag was kind of like I don't know. And I said, I need something. I have a project in mind, an art project, because you cannot go in a shooting range and tell them I have an art project. They'll think you're either from the government or
It's not their typical.
anti-gun. Yeah. So I said, he said, we kept on, we got on well to each other. He said, any day you want to, you can come in early before we open, take pictures. So that's it looked like Lebanon to me, so I kind of changed my project. I did the smart stuff, but that also.
Could you explain a little more about it?
Yes?
Yes, exactly.
And how
What
you did it
exactly
and
we're
what they-
reviewing here? How this
So
came
this
about.
is the background of where the targets are. The targets are that you can hopefully see there are lines there, there are cables there that and then the target is usually goes back and forth on that, and that's in between the target and the back wall, the metal you see there, and the metals get twisted like that. If the heavy shelling or fighting, they get twisted like that. That's supposed to slow the rounds down before they hit the back wall. So that's what it is. It's a very practical thing, and as you can see, people hit everywhere else except the target. So it's dangerous. Look at the ceiling there.
Yeah, the top portion.
They weren't very good at. So this is the coup de grace. So this came out. Do you know what coup de grace is?
No.
It's a very.
Go ahead.
So it's after somebody gets executed, the officer goes and gives the final shot in the head to make sure that the execution was complete. So this is the photographs. So these are targets that you can see. This is I took papers in, and I asked them. I hired the guys who work in my mercenaries, and I asked them to shoot at the blank papers, and then I went and printed transparent targets on them. So all of them are bullseye, but nobody can see the target.
And then, Hannah, you made a comment when we were talking. You said the whole is the aftermath of what happened and
Yeah.
what is left behind.
Yeah.
So as we're trying to understand your work
Yeah.
as a whole, that's a pretty powerful statement.
And then I took, of course, I went and took these pictures. And then, but these are different. Now, these are the pictures. So after taking the pictures and printed them, I took them back and I hired the same mercenaries to shoot at the pictures, one round each. So there's an actual round, there's an actual bullet hole on each one of them. The rest of them are pictures, so it's like so that's what the art had since Greek times they've been dealing with the reality and mimesis and all that stuff, and that's the representation and the real together on the same plane.
Any questions, comments on this?
Well, actually, I had one. So I see that in one place you commented that for you the medium is the origin, and then gradually the precise conception evolves out of that. So how does that apply in this particular case?
Photography, basically, we had these issues. I mean, probably, there was this survival research lab thing, movement, or this guy who lived in San Francisco, and they always had to do something dangerous for it to be real. And I would be trying to say, no, it doesn't have to be dangerous. But then, it's kind of a comment on both, the source of what representation is and the presence is. And I don't, when I think about something, I also think about the best medium to use in order to do that. If it takes film, I'll make the film. If it takes photography, I'll do photography. If it takes, so that's, not that different from, I hope not everybody understands Marshall McLuhan very well, but the medium, what?
Is the
Message.
Message is meeting.
Or the
Medium is the message.
Meaning.
Massage. Talar keeps on reminding me that the first edition had massage on it instead of message. The other one is the same picture, but I retouched the bullet holes one by one.
Yeah, there's something very sublime, very aesthetic, very beautiful about the photographs, and yet they represent some very difficult conditions and difficult moments. That happened, I think, in the Industrial Revolution, Enlightenment, where some artists were trying to, with the scientific accomplishments and achievements, to make it more relatable to the people, more accessible. They would convey them in the paintings with beautiful lighting and would try to focus in on the child's awe at the scientific experiment that was taking place, to be able to draw the audience in. I think for me, some of the work has that there's a draw that you want to get close, and then you realize in discussions and then noticing the holes and asking the questions that these are some very difficult experiences that have been represented or processed through something that is aesthetically very, there's a magnetic draw. Any other thoughts or comments about some of this?
We're back to
Again, searching for background.
yeah. these are again. It goes back to the first painting that we saw, and this instead of being, I kind of changed the subject on this. I wanted to get something very that's normally very opaque, and turn them transparent. And these are from Hilla and Bernd Baker, photographers. Probably, yeah. I was blown away with these pictures, not the ones. The first time I saw, they're Germans, they're very, very methodical. They went around and found every kind of post-industrial ruins they could find. And took like no drama, no nothing, no special lighting, just like straightforward, full frontal photography. And they have books, tons of books. And the first time I saw them displayed, it was a gallery, 8 by 10. No, they were all, I think all of them. They used view camera, 8 by 10 view cameras. So, and then you can see it's just flat lighting. You cannot see, like, it's not, there is no drama in the picture. And I think maybe that's what attracted me. And then I saw like a bunch of photographs. I said, oh, this is a conceptual piece, like same picture in a grid. Turned out each one of them was different. And then if you look at the cooling towers separately in the book, you will see most of the pictures look alike. Same with the water tank. And the other one is, so I went back to the subject of bunkers. So these are the bunker series, and also found this guy Paul Virillo, who is a quite well-known theoretician, and he had written this book, Bunker Archaeology. And so these are structures. I mean, somebody designs these things, and they have to be functional. I don't know if aesthetic has anything to do with this, but they have to be, something, like. So I start. This is my last series I'm working on. So I have one at the entrance. This is another water tower.
Can you tell us a little bit about the process?
Yeah, I paint the painting. These are 6 by 6s. They're quite big. I mean, you have seen them.
Yeah,
And then I go and trace from the picture, and then mask the thing. You will see probably the page there. And then I mask it and I varnish it with a spray varnish. And so I can't make any mistakes. Once I get there, and it takes me a long time to come up with the background because it's very so simple. I cannot make any. I have to accept what is there, and I don't want to be cynical. It's not like I take it. The other ones are an installation from later on. Maybe we will see. Yeah.
Move on
Yeah.
to the other ones.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us about the Blinds project.
Yeah. Blind dates.
When
This was
generational trauma
yeah.
comes in.
Yeah. Should I read the whole thing? No.
Okay, you can read it.
I don't want to read this. But you will see probably in the.
Do you want to show this
Yeah,
installation?
let's show the installation first. So this is at the Pratt Institute in New York. It's the New York Gallery. This was in 2010, and this was called Blind Dates because we were supposed to partner with. They had a curator. Nili Melkonian was the curator, and then Daphne Arias was the other curator. Daphne is Turkish, and Nili is Armenian. So there was this kind of thing, bringing Armenian and Turkish artists together. And for us, when we talk about genocide, it's numbers and a horrific event and numbers. But there are no individuals. You do not see, this is the famous picture, like the Harper thing. So, yeah. This is the iconic picture, and I took the picture, I scanned it, and nowadays it's possible to do computer. I traveled in the picture for about an hour. So you can see individuals, both sides, the guards and the people walking. So, and I also had the speakers. These are 100 speakers there. Each one of them has a different sound. Each one of them has, so it's it is the anti-documentary. The documentary, the film, documentary film instructs you with the sound and the picture coming from the source, from the picture. This is talking back to the picture. But 100 other people talking back to the picture. So there were lots of I can't remember exactly. I think 10 by 12, this one, but you can't hear, right?
I think our sound is not connected, but you can hear the sounds and
Yeah, you cannot make each one of them. You cannot tell what each one is saying from like 3 feet away. It's all mixed. But you can go to each one and listen, and you can make some sense from each one. You can. This
What were they saying here? What was the voiceover?
each one, they were contemporaries, by the way. They had no reference to the genocide. Nothing was about it was their own problems. One of them was having immigration issues, for example, paperwork issues. The other one, Najwan Darwish, who's a very famous Palestinian poet, was part of it, and he was talking about crossing border pandemic. The poets were citing their own, present things. Anahit was having issues in England, in Britain, with immigration papers, and also I teamed up with Anahit because my first partner was a Turkish woman who was doing her communications PhD at UC San Diego, and we clicked. But at one point, something happened. She was very unhappy. She used this in her PhD thesis, but some of it, not the whole thing. But so I picked up Anahid on the rebound. And so Anahid Kasabian is a media scholar. She is a professor emeritus from Liverpool University, so she's not teaching anymore, but she taught there.
This is something to point out before we move on to is Harai was dealing with his trauma from the Lebanese war, and then moving further back for the generational trauma of Armenians and the genocide. So there's this constant exploration of trying to make meaning, trying to understand, or trying to at least represent it in some way. And what we talked about earlier was, I said, do you think this was a way to help you grieve, right? To grieve a loss of people, to grieve a loss of a home you've known, and to establish a new home. So the art itself becomes a way to do that, to grieve, to try to understand, to try to express. I know Harai always says, he's not necessarily representing something, but what happened, and that the aftermath of that, and how to understand that. So,
and in this case too, I wasn't trying to represent in a sense of representing what had happened in the past and bring it. I was trying to make the work itself present, because if you're not there, you cannot narrate this to somebody. You are there to present, and that's it. It's not represented.
and then one thing that I'd explored in my dissertation work was how, as viewers, we then become witnesses as well, and then that responsibility to bear witness. And I feel that some of your work also does that by making it very present, and then having the viewer animate the work and be part of the work and be confronted by the work, and we become witnesses that have a responsibility.
Yeah, that image, when it goes around, it comes back. There are people who are, if you see that picture, there's people are walking down the street, whatever, and then people on the left side watching them. So it comes around and it stays on them for the last minute or so. Yeah, but so they were witnesses.
This is another series.
Yeah,
of
this
where
is- this-
sound is not gonna.
This is, I have a film that's, it's called Bruitage, and Thea Farhadian and with whom we curated Cowe and Anahit curated the San Francisco Film Festival, Armenian Film Festival. She's a concert violinist but she also does interactive electronics works. And then she recently had a CD released by Other Minds, which is a very important label in the experimental art, in the experimental music scene. And Charles Amirkhanian is the founder of Other Minds. So not very everybody knows his work, but he's a very important work in this electronic music scene. He's 89. So CCRMA, which is Center for Computer Research in Music and Acoustics at Stanford, they call it Karma. So they invited Thea to do an improvisation there. And we talked, we were talking about, she had seen the film, The Bruitage, it has also been seen around. Arabs were more interested in that film than Armenians were. It played at the Sharjah Biennale, and then, again, I was invited over to talk because of that film. So I said, why don't you try, let's see if we can come up with something. And I'm just going to show 2 minutes. It's 15 minutes long if you want
But the
to
sound isn't.
Oh,
No.
we don't have
Doors.
sound. We don't have sound. Too bad.
We're seeing Hirai's exploration into music and sound as another way to
Yeah.
express them.
All right, the sound can come out of the laptop, no?
It's not.
I guess. It is online, by the way. If you're interested, you can find the whole 15 minutes online. So this we picked up this part because she's playing the violin with the strings, and then you see the power lines. And at one point, it looks like she's playing the power lines. And this, the switchboard person, the control guy, was complete surprise what he did with the thing. We didn't expect this to happen, but he made his own piece too. We are exploring to having other places to do the same thing.
After we're done, I can disconnect and then try to play it on there too. I'm afraid if we do it, we'll lose connection with the TV.
Maybe this is a good point to raise another question with regard to your overall perspective. So clearly, much of what we've seen already is interdisciplinary,
Yeah.
multidisciplinary. But I see in some of your more recent work, you present yourself as being post-disciplinary. I wonder what you particularly mean by that.
I don't know. I mean, I was thinking about it in my artist statement, but I don't have a discipline. I mean, I'm not disciplined. I suppose was disciplinary. I would have preferred not disciplined, but you know. But yeah, post-discipline, because at this point there is no, it doesn't matter what medium you're using. You just, you know, like at the end of the day, you have to, what is it that you, if you have anything to say and how you're saying it. And every medium has its own vocabulary, its own grammar, its own language. So you pick and choose. I mean, I've used similar concepts in different mediums to see how they're going to end up.
Do you have any preference one over the other?
Depending on the name. Not really. Not really. It depends on the project. No, I don't have any preference.
Interesting. I didn't expect this. Maybe I should have done my homework before
There's lots of stuff online you can go and do. Yeah. And this is another piece. This is my first composition, attempt to composing electronic music. And there's this guy, a producer in New York, and he had this project 60 by 60, so each one has 1 minute to complete composition. And I can't read notes, I can't do anything, actually, I don't have any idea how it's done. So I picked up, and we met through Thea back in the early 2000s, and about Robert Boise, and so I said, I picked up his CD, and then I layered all 60 of them on top of each other. I turned into 1 minute into a 1 minute piece, and so I sent it in. He published it the following year, and it played around on radio stations. Lately, I heard Charles Amirkhanian played on his program in the Bay Area. So I don't know whether it's true or not, but that's what it's.
Sure. What do you mean by you stack
Because
them?
you just layered them, like all the tracks on top of each other.
We see them.
Yeah, I imported the CD and I used the audio.
Okay.
I used the audio tracks of the Final Cut Pro, and then because I don't have a.
All the timelines.
Yeah. Oh, did you go? Yeah.
You wanted to talk about this a little bit for.
Yeah. Okay.
How many CDs was it? Like 50, I believe.
No, it's one CD has each track is 1 minute, so 60 of them on one CD. And mine was on the following year. I should have kept it up, like every year. I wanted to do Kaltum, Olaf Kaltum.
Oh, that's
I'll probably do it.
We have a couple of slides and then we can open it up to questions because I know. You want to talk about this, you said you want to include it in the PowerPoint.
Did you go back to the previous slide? Is it? Yeah. When you look at it, it's just the innocent canvas. blank canvas, but when we turn off the light, this pops up. This is 6 by 6. And this was actually a tree, the picture of a tree I had taken out of called it Sociats Andar, which is a famous mythical forest. Yeah. You have any?
I mean, I guess I'm always intrigued by the layers and the transparency, but then things are hidden and then they're revealed under certain circumstances.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Yeah, the fade, also the fade, these not only lights, they also fade, and they're like very, very slow fades, and it depends on the temperature, I think, for the medium. It's if it's warmer, it takes longer to fade out. So also film, tongue in cheek, film and fade out, it fades. But yeah, it's we had crosses back home with Jesus in phosphorescent when we turned off the light. They scared me. And this is probably the one that...
it's a fanatic.
Yeah. This is a project at the Art Institute. This is on the roof. Those are all film students. Ernie Gare was there for the first time as a visiting professor. And he visited the artist, and he said to do something about the streets of San Francisco. So, to represent so I said smells. So I asked everybody to cook something in the same classroom. So it's layers of smell, San Francisco.
All layers. And the final slide.
Yeah, this was my notepad on my studio in San Francisco. So the first one is an argument with Oshagan. Laughter is serious. And the other one is a single hand clapping. Sounds exactly like two hands clapping without the noise. So it becomes some zen when you do it.
That's unique.
That's it. Yeah, that's all I got. You know, any questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Comments?
Comments, yeah.
I also do translations to Armenian. And Dr. Sebu Harslanyan, he was a big fan of my...
Yes. I especially like your Urge. It was an excellent framework.
The PowerPoint, yeah, but that's the key. But I have translated the other word that is not, we can't say it, right? Can we?
What?
No.
No.
I didn't see anything, but maybe you have it. Do you have anything from any pictures or photographs or paintings from motherland?
I have been to Armenia only once.
That's good enough.
I have only been to Armenia only once in 2016. When I refinished by Oshagan's film, I wanted to do the premiere there because in Armenia I still don't think as Western Armenian as being a legitimate language. And they think I've heard them called Parpar instead of a language. So I wanted to go and show Vahe's film in Armenia. And it was received very well, by the way. But no, I haven't done anything. I haven't been back.